You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. So you me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with another Let's Play episode of A Fall from Grace. I don't know what the hell I was about to say. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, we're up and let's go. Any more acts of bravery, and I'll start by shooting you in the legs and then work my way up. He turned to Blake. Tie them up as soon as they've finished. Aye, sir. Cedric was surprised to hear the Doberman address Ridley in such a manner, but given the bear was this robbery's leader, it only made sense. Ridley gestured at the coachman. Make sure to tie a noose around this one's neck. Perhaps he can join us beforehand at the gallows if he tries springing any more surprises on us. Once the group had handed everything over to the bandits, they were searched thoroughly. None of them appeared to have been hiding anything, most likely having been scared off by Ridley's gunshot. Victor and Blake finished binding the noble's hands and covering their mouths, after which the sun bear raised his voice again in a sarcastic tone. We're grateful for your cooperation. Now, do me a favor of following my two companions without any hesitation. He spoke to the masked bandits, picking up the sack their victims had filled. Get them off the road. As soon as you reach a good location, bind their feet and join us again. And you lot don't try anything foolish. I'm a very good shot. He leered menacingly, having uttered his final words to the group, tapping a finger on the pistol he was holding in his right hand. Thank you for assisting a poor soul in need. The stag responded with a final glare, fury burning in his eyes at his powerlessness against the bandit. The group soon disappeared into the adjacent undergrowth, leaving Cedric and Ridley alone on the silent path. The bear removed his wig, placing it in the sack anew. Cedric was almost afraid to speak after what he just witnessed. He now knew trying to stay on the bandit's good side was his best bet. Very impressive work, Ridley. How good are you at horse riding, said? What? The coyote was baffled after being caught completely off guard by a seemingly unrelated question. I said, how good are you at horse riding? Well, I first took lessons when I was a kid and have been out hunting on several occasions over the years, so fairly good, I'd say. Brilliant. You'll be sharing a horse with Blake, then. He's hopeless with them. Ridley walked in the abandoned carriage's direction, freeing the horses from their harnesses and taking hold of the reins. So that's what he was talking about, Cedric thought to himself. The two each mounted a horse, waiting for the others to reappear. The animals were still skittish after the gunshot, thus Cedric did his best to calm his own by having her move around in small circles. Ah, you weren't joking. You're very skilled, said. The coyote gave a small shrug as he smiled at the sun bear. Can't really unlearn this sort of thing, I suppose. Soon after, Victor and Blake's voices became audible as they re-emerged from the surrounding forest, having removed their masks after leaving their victims behind. About time, you two. What did you do back there? Have sex? Are you jealous or something? For goodness' sake, I asked you both to shut up already. The bear and Doberman laughed. You can't ask for something impossible, Vic. You've got your own boyfriend to worry about anyway. What do you mean by your own? We are not a couple. You bloody confessed you were still into me yesterday evening. Yes, and don't sound so desperate, it's a turn-off. As the others kept up the typical banter Cedric had grown accustomed to, Victor wandered over to the coyote, gazing at him and his newfound steed. Noticing he had the fox's attention, Cedric struck up a pose and imitated the manner of an army general, causing his lover to smile in amusement. I didn't realize I'd fallen in love with a gallant knight. I'm utterly tousled, you half-wit. You look beautiful to me, darling. You know I love a man in uniform. Hearing those words, Cedric suddenly recalled his dream the previous night. You know, I recently thought about that time you tried on my hunting suit. Do you remember that? When was that? It was the first time I'd gone hunting with my father. We went swimming in the lake after I got back, and then I had to try on my clothes once we dried off. Of course, how could I forget? I recall it vividly. Well, now's as good a time as any to confess that the moment I saw you looking all handsome in that red jacket and those shiny boots, I got the most massive heart-on. The fox burst out laughing. He obviously hadn't been expecting the remark. I was young, foolish, and sexually naive, so obviously I had no idea what caused it at the time. Oh, Cedric, I remember that day very fondly. I had just realized I was massively in love with you. Cedric's mouth hung agape. You were? You were more worldly wise than me, evidently. Cedric's expression turned mischievous. I also recall I was holding a whip when I tried your suit on. Ridley suddenly interrupted the conversation, raising his voice so that all could hear him. Everyone, please. Have you all lost your minds? We need to get out of here before anyone else shows up. Make sure you search that carriage for valuables. Then each of you hop on behind Cedric and I. You can resume any conversation when we're home again. Move it! The other bandits did as they were told, Victor opening the doors to the vehicle and Blake untying the sacks placed on the rear to check their contents. Once that was done, the group was finally able to ride back down the hill heading toward the familiar side of the Headingstone Forest. Late afternoon slowly crept in. The contrast between the dimming warm light and the trees' dark elongated shadows was growing more apparent as summer neared its end. Cedric couldn't avoid feeling there was a supernatural mystery to this forest, home to many bandits and rovers before the masquerade's time. He recalled Dr. Phillips, his algebra teacher, whose enthusiasm for Celtic myths and legends had fascinated the coyote at a young age, adding an enjoyable conclusion to many a tedious lesson. The curious aspect was that now he and the others felt like they were witnessing one of these tales from the opposite perspective, as if they were the mischievous spirits inhabiting the ancient woodland. Once they all reached the camp, they jumped off the horses, whilst Victor picked up the bag with the day's loot, carefully inspecting the various items.
Dion will be very glad to see today's findings. We've been working hard this week.
How do you fellows go about sharing the loot amongst yourselves?
Good question. It's usually split equally between us. We all put in our amount of hard work each day, so it's only fair. Usually Dion is the one who deals with the distribution. Well, it's estimating what certain items might be worth. Though to be fair, Selwyn often has a knack for that too.
What voice was I doing for Selwyn? Okay, let's see. Oh, yes, all right.
Good evening, boys. Robbery went well, I presume. It's hardly evening yet, Hole.
Oh, you're right. The sun's just beginning to set sooner and my brain refuses to adapt. Hollis walked over from his carriage to join them, beaming once he noticed the newfound steeds.
Oh, these are some fine-looking animals. And make sure they're adequately fed and can take them to the market tomorrow morning.
He took hold of the reins, tying them to the side of his vehicle. Victor resumed his conversation with Cedric.
As you can see, even these horses can come in handy by helping us earn a pretty penny.
The coyote nodded. It's all very practical.
When you've got to make do with anything you can come across, you'll start to think of so many options you would have never even entertained the notions of before. In fact, I'm sure you already have. Plus, you're a fast learner. Any other rich bastard would be completely clueless and would die out in a week. Serves them right, too. Accustomed as they are to servants getting all their work done every single day.
I'm sure some rich folk would be able to survive. People can be surprisingly resourceful given the right context.
Victor rolled his eyes. I'll believe it when I see it. Ridley, who had been keeping up his usual banter with Blake, walked over to the two canines, feeling proud of himself after a victorious outing.
He chuckled as he eyed Cedric. The coyote somehow looked even worse than he had during the robbery, bits of dirt clearly visible in his hair and various dusty patches on his jacket and breeches. Ced, I'm so sorry we literally had to do you dirty today.
Each one of us pulled off that robbery with near a single mistake. I'd be proud of myself if I were you for orchestrating it all, Rid. And who cares if I had to be the one lying down in the dirt?
Nevertheless, I want to hand you some clean garments. Please, come with me. He moved away, heading for his tent, waving a hand at Victor and Hollis. Won't be a minute, you two. Oh, Hollis, could I have something to drink while you're about? Anything you like will do. The tiger bellowed after him.
I'm not a waiter. How many times must I tell you that, brazen bear?
Cedric caught up with him as he entered the tent, Ridley taking off his jacket and throwing it on the untidy bed. I just wanted to talk to you alone for a minute. The bear sounded unusually serious. He picked up and effortlessly lit a pipe he kept next to his mirror. Do you smoke? I have another pipe in one of these drawers. Thank you very much, but I'm not really big on smoking. Lucky you. The bandit cleared his voice, his eyes meeting Cedric's. I hope nothing I asked you to do today made you uncomfortable.
Not at all. I know I can have a tendency to let people walk over me a little, and you've probably figured that out already just by chatting with me.
Hearing all about that Lysander friend of yours did give me a hint. But trust me, if I were uncomfortable with anything, I would let you know. Ridley nodded, seemingly satisfied by the answer, sitting down and opening a couple of drawers from a small cabinet as he did. Good. I like a man who is able to stand up for himself when needed. In my life, I've learned it can be no good keeping things bottled up, as you know. He handed over a clean jacket of a similar shade of green to Cedric's usual, but with a few more intricate ornaments on the cuffs. I feel like you and I share quite a strong connection, Ced. I felt it since that first evening we chatted together. So if there's ever anything on your mind, or if you ever need help with anything, I'm here to listen." The coyote smiled, touched by the bear's kind offer. There was a spark in the bandit's eye the moment he uttered the next words. "I find you very cute, too. I can tell what Vic sees in you." Cedric's modesty turned to growing embarrassment after hearing that statement. Ridley stood up and combed the coyote's messy hair back with a gloved hand. His voice was warm and as smooth as silk. "I suspect you have eyes only for that fox of yours right now, at least in a romantic sense. But physically, should you ever want to get up to anything fun with me, just know my door is always open for anything you like to do. Unless I'm not your type, which, it's fine if I'm not." What was happening? Was the cool and confident Ridley getting flirty with Cedric of all people? The coyote had trouble wrapping his mind around this, especially since he had come to realize over the past few days that he himself found the bear very attractive. There was a reason he'd opened up so quickly to the bandit. What he liked in Ridley was similar to what he liked in Victor. The kindness, the confidence, the openness, the charm. Obviously, he shared a connection with the fox that couldn't even begin to be matched by anyone else. When it came to physical attraction or mere infatuation, he was confused. There was no way around it. In fact, he felt the same way about most of the other bandits as well, though to a lesser extent. Noticing his distant facial expression, Ridley took a step back. "Perhaps I should point out my advances are not romantic, and you wouldn't be going behind Victor's back were you to ever get physical with me. You can freely discuss it with him. He's done such things in the past himself. Truth be told, we've all slept with each other here, Selwyn being the only exception. That's because he doesn't care much for sex, which I honestly envy him for. But we're all very open about the subject, which is how I feel everyone should be." Cedric finally replied, "I'm just stunned you like me." "Well, what's not to like? I'm not sure, I wouldn't... This is all just so unexpected. I hadn't even figured out my preferences until 2 or 3 weeks ago, for heaven's sake." The bear laughed. "That's all right, Ced. You have all the time in the world to think about this." "I find you very handsome, Ridley. That boldness of yours is a big turn-on." Cedric blurted out his confession before his brain was able to keep him from doing so. "Ah, so my flirting hasn't been in vain after all." Yeah, alright y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all if I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Subman. Thank you above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our Safe for Work contents as little as $5. If y'all want to donate to our Patreon, you can donate using Super Thanks on YouTube. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Ooh, shoot me. Bye-bye.